What's going on? Welcome to another video of Walking with Matt. I don't exactly know what to call these short episodes or short videos, but I basically wanted to come on here and record some thoughts that I was having. So a few years ago, I actually ended up making a decision that has completely changed the trajectory of my life. And that decision was actually deciding to become a better person, not just mentally, not just physically, but spiritually. And I decided that I wanted to follow God. And when I actually made that decision, unfortunately, it did end up causing me to hurt some people in the process. And what I end up realizing is that sometimes when God is calling you to a higher place or calling you to be better than what you currently are, especially when you have that desire to be better than you currently are, there are going to be some people, there are going to be some things that are going to have to change, and it's going to hurt. It's definitely going to hurt. And I think that a lot of people, they have the misconception that just because you may hold things differently and it may seem like things are not affecting you, just because you have a different mechanism of being able to actually deal with things or compartmentalize things, they think that you don't have any pain or you don't have any emotions or that things don't affect you. However, when you're in those quiet places, that's when that hurt comes out. Even a lot of times what I've discovered is that instead of actually being publicized or being around certain people who, you don't know if you can trust, or who have even shown that they can't handle you at that capacity, sometimes it's just best that you quote unquote suffer in silence. And that's what I decided to do. But basically on this journey of becoming a better man, chasing after God, or not even, I won't even necessarily chasing after God, but just taking heed to what God's word says and actually implementing it into my life, there have been a lot of things that I've had to do differently. One of the scriptures that I really reference a lot is Romans chapter 12, verse 2, where it says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Now, when a lot of people read that, they're like, oh yeah, you got to be transformed and renewed by your mind, but they don't understand what that actually means. And when I first read that, I didn't understand what that means or understood what that meant either. But I decided that I wanted to study that. So I said, okay, what does it mean to be transformed? Well, to be transformed basically means, and y'all see the sun coming up over the mountain, such a nice view. But basically, to be transformed, I want you to think about basically a butterfly. Okay, how does a butterfly become a butterfly? Well, first, it starts off as a caterpillar. And when it starts off as a caterpillar, that is when it goes and it starts to go through that process of, eating the foods and moving around. And then it gets to a certain point to where it's like it goes into a cocoon. And when it actually goes into that cocoon, that is when it starts to actually transform. So when you're transforming and the caterpillar transforms from the caterpillar to a butterfly, it goes in this cocoon. For one, there's a period of time that it takes for that to happen. And many people try to rush the process. Even I try to rush my process. And the process is the process. I like to cook, and one of the things that I always tell people is you cannot rush cooking. If you rush cooking, people are going to be able to tell that you have rushed cooking. So anytime that I go in the kitchen and I cook, I make sure that I take my time. Now, when I first started cooking, it was like, hey man, I just want to get this food done as quickly as possible. I will go in there and turn the stove all the way up, and I will be trying to cook the food fast. Now, there isn't an issue with you turning the stove up to get, whatever instruments that you're using, such as, you might have a cast iron skillet, or you might have a pot, or you might be boiling water. You can turn it up to help get it to temperature faster, but you have to turn it down. And I think so many people, mainly myself included, We sit there and we turn things up and we just want to go, 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 but we can't go all the time. We can't go that fast all the time. And that is a part of the process. If you really want good food to come out, you have to allow for the food to cook. You have to allow for the food to take its time. You have to allow for the food to get that seasoning into it. And if you don't, people are going to be able to tell that. So when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, it is a period of time that it has to wait before it becomes a butterfly. Now with you, it might be a period of time before your finances get right. Maybe you decided, hey, look, I want to have better finances this year. But what you're doing is you're like, well, I don't have $1 million this month, or I don't have $1,000, or I don't have $10,000 within this month, so I'm just going to stop. No. However old you are right now, that's how long it has taken for you to develop the bad habits that you currently have. So you have to go and you have to unlearn those specific things. And if you don't take the time to unlearn them, aka being in your cocoon process, then you are not going to fully mature into that butterfly. Okay? So make sure that you just stick with your process. The other thing that you have to think about is the fact that your race is your race. Your process is your process. Yes, you may be able to get tips from other people. Yes, you may be able to go and do some of the same things that some other people have done, but don't go out there and try to copy people. That was one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn, is that you are you. God put you on this earth to uniquely be yourself. Okay? God put you on this earth to basically be different. He didn't put us on this earth to be the same. And if you're going throughout the earth trying to be like somebody else, that is what's causing you to be frustrated, because you are trying to be someone else. And by you trying to be someone else, you are missing out on those who are trying to find you. Okay? Everyone has a unique perspective. Everyone has a different obstacles. They have different things that they've went through in their life. And you are supposed to utilize that to be able to help other people. Now, that's not to say that you go and just tell everybody your story or things that happened to you and all of that, because not everyone is deserving of that. Not everyone's going to be able to understand. And a lot of people are just going to judge you, and they're going to go out and they're going to basically make you a mockery, and basically you're going to be the topic to talk about. However, I do believe that sharing your story, sharing your experiences can help someone else, especially when it comes to helping them have a better life. So make sure that you take the time to go through your process. But getting back to breaking down this scripture. Now, we talked about the transformation. Now, instead of just thinking about the transformation, it says, but do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Okay, being renewed. Actually, let me go back. So do not be conformed to this world is basically saying do not be molded. Think of clay on a pottery's wheel. And if you haven't seen that, just go look that up on YouTube. And basically when they put the clay on the potter's wheel and they spin it around, you're able to be molded and formed. So don't be conformed by this world. Don't be molded by the things that are going on in this world. And there are a lot of things that are going on, especially right now in 2025. Now, getting to the renewing of your mind. Now, one of the biggest things that I missed about this, which I didn't pay attention a lot when I was in school in my language arts class, but what I ended up thinking about is the fact of re. When you put re in front of something, what does that mean? That means to do over again. So it says, but do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing of your mind means that this is going to be something that you're going to be constantly doing over and over and over and over again. Renewing your mind is something that you're going to be doing every year, every month, every week, every day, every hour of the day, every minute of the day. You have to be able to renew your mind and get new thoughts and new ideas in your head, because when you don't, you're going to stay the same. Renewing our mind is like a tree being planted. You know, it has a different process. It has a process where it goes down. You're going to feel like you don't know anything. That's when you're in the dark place. People are not going to understand you. They're going to think that you're crazy. Then you have a part where your roots start to develop and you start developing that confidence within inside of yourself. Then once you actually go from that, now you're actually able to sprout up, but your roots are still growing. So don't stop the root process of still developing yourself internally, making sure that you believe what you believe, making sure you know what you know. And as you start to sprout up above the ground, that is what actually allows for people to see what you have actually done. Then when you are actually able to bear fruit, now you are able to bear fruit. And the great thing about having an actual tree or being a tree, which many people don't think about, is the tree does not produce fruit for itself. Let me say that again. The tree does not produce fruit for itself. The tree produces fruit for people to consume. But here's the good thing about that. When people come to consume the fruit, consuming the fruit allows for you to be able to grow more fruit. But if you just have fruit and nobody's coming to consume the fruit, you're just going to have a tree and then the fruit's going to end up being rotten. So it's okay for you to go out there and provide people with information. It's okay for you to go out there and help people. It's okay for you to go out there and you went through this struggle so you can actually provide fruit, which is your particular experience with somebody else. So make sure that you are constantly renewing your mind. You may be thinking, well, Matthew, how do I renew my mind? I'm glad you asked. The way that you renew your mind is forget that you know anything. And I'm not saying like literally forget that you know anything, but I'm saying this. When I started to read the Bible, I thought that I knew what words meant. I thought just because I could pronounce the words, or even just when I started reading books in general, I thought that, hey, look, just because I know how to pronounce this word means that I know what this word means. That's not true at all. If you read the word and you cannot clearly state what that word means or have a clear understanding of what that word means, you don't know what that word means. So what do you have to do? You have to pop open that dictionary and you have to go and discover what that word means. Now, when I started to do this concept or started to develop this new habit, that allowed for my mind to expand even more, especially when it comes to the Bible, because the Bible is pretty difficult to understand, especially if you don't know what the words mean. And Myron Golden says this a lot, that if you don't know what the words mean, you can't know what the word means. So you have to go and you have to take that time to study. Yes, does it take a little bit of time? Yes, it does. But I want to challenge you that you don't have to go and read like 10 to 15 chapters a day. Just start with reading 1 page a day. If you start with reading 1 page a day, then eventually you will want to read more because you will have started to develop the habit. You go from reading 1 sentence a day, reading 1 paragraph a day, to then 2 paragraphs, to then a page, to then 2 pages, to then the next thing you know, you're reading 4 or 5 pages, or then you're reading a whole chapter. So we have to develop these new habits, and you have to actually go and understand what certain things mean. And although, this video may seem random, and honestly, I'm still new at learning how to make these videos and how to actually keep the content and stuff like that going. I hope that these videos are helpful. I hope that these videos are insightful and help you on your journey of becoming a better man or becoming a better woman, because the future generations depend on it. In the past generations, maybe your parents, your grandparents, they had things that they were struggling with and they didn't share a lot of knowledge. A lot of things were just swept under the rug. A lot of things were just like, we don't talk about that, but we need to talk about certain things. We need to talk about people having certain addictions. We need to talk about how people dealt with stress. We need to talk about how people had bad relationships and how they got over those relationships. We need to talk about people that had unforgiveness in their heart. We need to talk about a lot of these things because the next generations cannot become better if we do not talk about these things. And the more we don't talk about it, the more it just becomes a sore and a fester, and it's just going to be passed down to the next generation. So I hope that this video was helpful, and I will catch you all tomorrow on the next video of Walking with Matt.